Is it happening? Yay!
And
Yay!
I feel like I need to do a really good clap for that one. I don't know what that is though. Look at this. I'm talking about a really good clap, but am I a seal now? Have I just like...
oh, Lord. So, well, we are back with episode 19, Slingin' Ain't Easy. I am joined by my soul siblings, Chase, two of ALLORAH'S. Say hello. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello, everybody. Hello.
And the ever beautiful, awesome creator of the Bone, Stone, and Earth Flesh Tarot, Avalon Cameron.
Hello. I'm so excited. 19 episodes, folks. And it's been ages, so I'm stoked. I'm stoked.
We are so stoked. Ridiculously so.
Yes, we have been getting pumped behind the scenes, and Avalon has joined us after a cup of tea and a muesli bar, so she is refreshed, ready to go. Chase, of course, has refilled his cup, and I've refilled mine. And today we're going to be talking about some juicy stuff, some controversial stuff. One of the things that we're going to cover is deck collecting versus tarot reading. What's the difference? What's the difference? And does one equate to the other? Imposter syndrome?
Keyword. No.
We're also going to be talking about imposter syndrome, which is where you start reading professionally and then feel like you don't have a right to for whatever reason, whether it be that you don't feel confident in what you're doing, you don't feel that you know the tarot enough, et cetera, et cetera. We've all been through it at one point or another. So that's another topic we're going to be talking about. And everybody's favorite controversial topic, tarot and money. How you know when to start charging, how much to charge, situations and where you shouldn't charge, et cetera, et cetera. But first, as we start off every episode, we're going to hit the news. So let me tell you, we've been so excited about this episode that I have been up since 4:30 this morning. I researched people.
No. She's been up since 4:30 this morning, stealing my news. That's what's been going on. Stealing it. Really.
We're getting ready to steal all of Chase's news. So yay! This is funny. I haven't told him exactly what news I'm bringing, but I'm gonna laugh if he's like, "Oh, you stole that too."
It's definitely happening. It's definitely happening.
Okay, so I only have two decks that I want to talk about, but these decks are both Lo Scarabeo, and I was talking to Chase about this behind the scenes. I'm actually really impressed with Lo Scarabeo these days because I'm not typically a fan of their decks because they do a lot of bordering and a lot of just extra stuff that I feel is unnecessary and distracts or detracts from the deck itself. But I think they're getting a lot better, and these two decks are both their productions. So the first one is Tarot de la Nuit. I think is how you say it, Tarot of the Night. And it's a darker tarot, and it's gorgeous. It is by Carol Ann, I don't even know how to say this last name, but Eshenazi and Alexandra V. Bach. So you can check that out. It is slated to drop September 8th of this year. And also there's an oracle that is of equal kind of
measure.
Yes, illustration wise, I guess you would say. And the artist is the chick that draws Final Fantasy people. So you really need to check this out if you're a gamer. It's very whimsical but dark, and it's called the Dark Mirror Oracle. It drops the same day as the Tarot de la Nuit, but this one is by Ricardo Minetti and Laura Sava.
You stop it. You stop it. You stop right now. You stop it. That is mine. That is mine. You cannot have. That is mine. I told you it was going to happen. I knew.
Told you.
This shit was going to happen. So,
Are they both Lo Scarabeo?
Yes.
You need to go to the Lo Scarabeo website. And
you need to go look.
They're killing it. They're killing it. They're killing the game.
Have a look. But that's really impressive because, you know, Lo Scarabeo has gone from like a boo to a woo. So
I mean, honestly, truly, yeah. I mean,
yeah, but it hasn't. But it has not happened like overnight. I think they've been like steadily improving.
Feedback though. That's feedback. Lots and lots of feedback. Lots and lots of people saying the same thing. I've got some old low decks on my shelving here, like in this business. And I've got to say that charting their progress has been rather exciting.
Yes. So those are the 2 decks that I had. Okay, 2 other pieces of news. Summer issue of the Cartomancer. If you have not seen the cover, it features the art from the Bonestone and Earthflesh Tarot, which is the star, which was modeled after my soul brother over there, Chase, who also writes a column for the Cartomancer Tarot Bros. They do that every issue, yeah?
We do indeed.
Yeah, so it has that in there. Anna's art from Avalon's deck. And then I wrote an article concerning shadow work that is going to appear in the summer issue as well. So you should definitely check out that issue because it's all of us together in an issue. And last but not least,
who's killing the game? Who's killing the game? Who was that? I'm sorry. Was that us? Yeah, I think it might have been. Was that us? Oh, right. Okay, all right. I
feel fancy for being on the cover. Like, it's not me per se, but it's like, that's my deck, folks. That's my deck right there on the cover. Just on the cover. Just by the way, it's on the cover. So, yeah, I'm feeling fancy.
I love. That's how I felt. That's how I felt the last issue when my article that I wrote outside of the Turbo column. I got my own article last issue, and it was like on the cover, and I was like, "Excuse me, thank you." Well, my goodness, my name is on that cover. Like, thank you.
In bold. And the irony here, and this is just a testament to how self-involved I can be, is I see the cover of Cartomancer and I'm like, it's the star card from the Bonestone. And I'm just like, whee! Like, I'm so excited. And then Allora messages me going, and my name is like super highlighted in bold. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And I'm like, it was the biggest thing.
I'm just like excited because I was like, wait, my article's like, does that mean it's a feature article? I don't know. Because I wrote, to be honest with you, I wrote that article last year, actually, last summer. So it's relevant. It's so relevant. Oh, I hear little ones.
Yeah, she's here. This is LaRue. LaRue's here. This is Ruru. Honey, I can't do it right now, okay? I'm just going to pause this and tend to her. Chase was going to go next for news anyway. I'm just going to go be a mom for a moment.
Okay, go mom. And the last bit of news that I had was actually about the Bonestone and Earthflesh Tarot because I recently visited Avalon, and so I got to see some of the artwork up close and personal, some of the actual print. If you guys saw the Brusha card that we did for Avalon, she actually has that painting on hand, and so I got to like hold it 5 inches from my face, and it's just gorgeous. But more than that, I got to hold some of the sample cards, and it's just phenomenal. I know that a lot of people have been following the deck and following the images as they're published digitally, but there's something special about seeing the images transferred from digital to actual things that you can hold in your hand. And it is definitely, if you have not purchased one of those decks, I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you are a tarot enthusiast and want a deck that isn't necessarily traditional, but a little bit more challenging. It's phenomenal. So just go out, do that. Chase, your turn.
All right. So I have good news. Most of my news is still intact. Allora didn't fuck with it too much, so that's nice. And so what I wanted to start off with, so if you guys caught, if there's anybody here that was in my Red Earth Ramble live broadcast of my own yesterday evening, you know what I'm about to talk about. So I have taken on a project. What I like, my mission in my tarot career, in my tarot life, is for people to fully understand, or to, I guess, inspire and encourage people to do whatever they can to fully understand what the tarot is about, and how deep it can go, and how wide it can go, and how many layers it has. And two of those layers that I'm super passionate about is numerology and Kabbalah. You've heard me talk about it all, you know. So I had this genius plan, right? So I was, and let me tell you how this came about. I'm gonna keep this short because I could talk forever, but I won't, I promise. So I was in the bookstore yesterday, and they got like this whole shipment of tarot decks and oracle decks. Like, we're talking like Oklahoma has never seen an entire wall of oracle decks without it being set on fire in a church somewhere as a proof that we're killing Satan. Like, it has never been this beautiful, right? So and so I was standing there and I was like, oh my God, like today is going to be the day that I finally cave and I'm going to buy a new deck. Like, it's just going to happen. And so I was standing there and it was like I had this just inspirational kind of moment where I was like, oh my God. And then to the left of all of these beautiful decks was a row of traditional playing cards. And so the deck that I left with was a traditional 54 card playing deck. And so what I am taking on this project is I'm going to put out a tutorial of how to turn a 54 card playing deck into your own deck that you can divinate with. And it's going to deal with numerology, and it's going to deal with Kabbalah, and it's going to be in the simple format that everybody can learn. You don't have to know anything about Kabbalah, you don't have to know anything about numerology, but it's just going to show you how easy it can be to learn these two facets of spirituality that most people find really just overwhelming and big. And it's gonna be free. I'm gonna come out. It's gonna be a PDF format. I'm gonna put it onto my website, shameless plug, toavalstarot.com, and anybody can go out again, download it, and you can use this with any single deck. You see the deck that I'm using here. I've already edged in black just because I wanted to, because it would match the backing. But literally all that I'm gonna do is gonna be a tutorial that comes with like keywords. And so it's going to teach you keywords to go with each number and with each spot in the Kabbalah. And it's just like, it's going to be like the step-by-step process. It's going to be super easy, super fun. And so hopefully you all will get on board with that. I'm hoping to be done with that in the next 4 weeks. I hope. Again, I don't get to choose my work schedule anymore, so it gets a little hectic. But hopefully that will be coming out soon. So there's that piece of news. And so I have 3 decks that I would like to talk about. One of them that Allora kind of touched on a little bit. Thanks. And the first one that I wanted to talk about, was the Texture Tarot. So if you guys are not familiar with Lisa McLaughlin's work, she did I'm not going to get this right, the Plant Allied deck and the Tree Wisdom. Is that the other one? Something Wisdom of Trees, something like that. But like beautiful art, she does phenomenal work, and the Texture Tarot is in pre-order over on Etsy. So if you're a fan of her work, and you're into that sort of what do I call it? I call it splash color, but I have no idea if that's an actual artsy term. It doesn't matter. If you're into that, then that deck is over on pre-order. So go check that out. The next deck I wanted to talk about, going along with Allora, like literally. Los Scarabeo right now is killing it. Like if you go over to their website, like they are coming out with some really legit stuff. And, you know, I feel really bad that I have sat here, and I've never badmouthed them because I will never badmouth anybody, you know, producing something of a hobby that I enjoy. But I've just never really like, I know. But, you know, like I just haven't jived with them. Like the stuff that they've been putting out and producing is just not been like stuff that I have wanted to like. The only Los Scarabeo deck that I ever got was the Night Sun Tarot, and I ended up gifting that to somebody else just because I did not jive with the deck quality, and you know, it was just very hard to get past all of the Los Scarabeo things that we have seen in the past. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I think their main pitfall, like I said, is the extras that detract from the artwork. You know what I mean? Like the actual deck creation, like all the bordering and the backing, and it's
right.
much.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. But I'm telling you, they have like Avalon was kind of saying too, it is like a testament to like the quality of Los Scarabeo, that they are taking everything that they are being told and they're actually like changing stuff and they're doing things, and they were impressing the shit out of me for the last 3 or 4 months. I've really gone out to their website and I'm constantly doing research. Even when we don't have STW episodes, I'm still doing research. And so just the stuff that they're putting out is freaking phenomenal. And one of those decks that I am really intrigued is the Dark Mirror Oracle, again by Riccardo Minetti and that other chick that I forgot to write down. I apologize. But that is coming.
Laura Abba, I think it is.
Yes. And so, sorry.
Abba.
Yes. And so that is coming out in September, cited to come out in September of this year. If you have not gone out, just look it up. Like, look up images. Like, it looks so gritty and delicious, and I'm so excited about it. So excited about it. And the other deck that I wanted to talk about, so I'm not a big Marseille person myself, but Los Scarabeo is also coming out with a new Marseille deck, again, cited to come out in October of this year, the Golden Marseille, and it looks really dope. Like, I'm looking at it, and I've never really looked at Marseille before like I'm looking at this deck. It looks really, really good. And the last thing we wanted to talk about too, the last bit of news that also Laura talked about was the Cartomancer. And I kind of wanted to come at it from a perspective of, if you guys have not checked out this magazine, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm going to be very honest and sit here. I had not checked it out until I was in it, which makes me, I'm being a very honest person. But I like the issue that I had in my hands and that I was reading, the one that I was in, like, it has such good stuff, you guys. It is a phenomenal magazine. You talk about covering all aspects of cartomancy, and I know that sounds cheesy because it's the name of the magazine, but like, it legitly, like, it's so good, and it has so much information from people that we respect in the industry, and from our fellow peers and people that you get to talk to every day out on YouTube, and just everybody in the tarot sphere. It is included in this magazine, and it is so good, and I am so fucking beyond excited that like STW gets to take over an issue. And I'm exaggerating a little bit because obviously we didn't take it over, but it's what it feels like. And it feels so good that, because we have taken a little bit of a break, because we're all adjusting. Laura's moved to a new country. Avalon stole her away, which is rude. We won't talk about that. I'm still a little bitter about it. And we started school, and I started this new job, and we have just struggled so much, nailing down our schedule. And it is just so, like, it feels so good to still have the support from you guys. And it feels so good to just be out there on the cover of a fucking magazine and just have our articles in it, and just to be in the same magazine with people that I have looked up to in this industry for so long is just the dopest feeling. Like, it just feels so, so damn good. And I'm done. On to you, Avalon. On to you.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, congratulations on being featured in the article. You too, Allora. Congratulations, because it's always a beautiful thing for creators to be put out there on another platform that is not necessarily hosted by us per se, individually or collectively. And so it's very nice. It's very nice. You're, each and every one of you, fantastic contributions. And now on to me, because first of all,
because she's the most important thing in
I am. You will soon see why. It's currently, and I want to say it's like the 24th of April here. And this is, I'm giving you a heads up because it's almost my birthday month. And my birthday's on the 8th of May.
Where are we going with this?
I technically claim all of May. This is big news. It's almost my birthday. That's the top. That's headline news. It's almost my birthday. True story. I'm so pumped. For those who know me, they know me as that person who just goes ballistic on their birthday. And, I like to go big or go home, right? But I'm not going home on my birthday because it's my birthday, so I go big. Yay! Right. Now, on to lesser news. True story. I've got a list of about, I want to say seven really good little topics, and I've got them listed down below because there were so many. First of all, The Abyss Tarot by Anna Turian. Anna Turian, while she has been working on the Bone Stone and Earthflesh Tarot with moi, the birthday girl soon to come. She has also been, you know, pen and inking her own, I want to say it's her fourth deck. It's her fourth deck because she has an oracle, she has a tarot, and she has a Lenormand. And so this will be her fourth deck, and it's a full black and white pen and ink tarot deck done in her beautiful signature line work. That is that's the Abyss Tarot. Now the mages are done, the cups are done, and she's starting on the Suit of Swords. There is a website which I have linked in the description box below, and I would like for you to go over and peruse this artwork because it is very unique. It's Anna style, but it's very detailed, you know, pen and ink type of work, and she is a phenomenal illustrator, let me tell you. So get on board with that as soon as you can. Just get on board with it. The next one that I wanted to talk about is the Light and Dark Oracle. Now, the Light and Dark Oracle is by longtime fellow YouTuber and all-around awesome individual, Racine artist Wilkinson, aka Almoon513. Now, Almoon has teamed up with her partner, who is a photographer, and they are putting together an oracle deck, and it's called the Light and Dark Oracle. She has chosen to open a Patreon page to help support her her oracle creation process. And so I have the link in the description box below, and a big congratulations for Racine. She has been a long time tarot lover, user. She has put incredible content out there on her YouTube channel about tarot, and I tell you what, she's just a lovely, lovely individual who lives and breathes her craft as not just a tarot reader, but as a psychic and a healer. And she really, really puts out beautiful bits and pieces for us all to absorb and be nourished by. So the link for that Patreon is in the description box below. You can support her process via that Patreon page. The next is the Alice in Wonderland Oracle by Lucy Cavendish and Jasmine Beckett Griffith. Now, this is an oracle, for those of you who are a big fan of Lucy Cavendish and Jasmine Beckett Griffith, you will know that they have a plethora of decks out together, and it's been a little while since they've released one. So the dynamic duo has gotten together once again to put a spin, to put their little, you know, witchy, macabre, dark fantasy spin on the Alice in Wonderland story. And so this is set to be a pretty interesting deck. Now, that is going to be published, mass produced by Blue Angel, and it is due for release in May, my birthday month. Then, yeah, that's going to keep happening. Then we have at number 4, we have Copyright Law and Tarot by Benabel Wen, which is a new course that she has put up. And I think that this is an important course, folks, because we are all creating in the sphere of tarot. We are all participating in tarot creations. Most importantly, if you're not on the creative side, you're on the participant side. And it's really important to have your finger on the pulse of copyright law for this kind of thing, because I know myself, this is just a little tangent side story. I had a printer lined up to print my Bonestone deck, and I ended up having to pull out of that agreement because I found out through several different sources, one who actually worked inside the printer at the time, that they were selling off files to bootleggers. And, you know, and what can you do? I'm here in Australia, they're in China. What's my rights in that regard? I didn't know. I didn't know what my rights were. And that's one of those situations that, you know, it really does pay to inform yourself. And, you know, that's an extreme case, obviously, from creator to printer. So that's a behind the scenes thing. But, you know, it's not uncommon to see other people's artwork in, you know, in decks. There was a slight issue some time ago with the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. And I'm sure we all remember that. We've all forgotten it, but it was a thing at the time. And so, you know, it's really good to be able to educate yourself. If you consider yourself to be a professional, if you are wanting to become a creator, then Benabel Wen, who is, by the way, an attorney, has created a copyright and tarot course for you. And it's very reasonably priced, as are all her courses, by the way. They're all very reasonably priced. Then at number 5, I have the Deviant Moon Oracle for all the Deviant Moon tarot lovers out there. Now, I went that second step and I got a tasty little teaser video from Patrick Valenza himself, which he put on YouTube, and I have linked it in the description box below. Now, he's put out there, yeah, I know, right?
I'm sorry, you what?
Stop it with your awesomeness. I have watched the teaser video. I'm just like, oh my God, same gorgeous macabre artwork that he is so famous for. And it looks very Deviant Moon, guys. So it's an extension of, so imagine reading with your Deviant Moon Borderless Edition, which by the way I have, and your awesome Deviant Moon Oracle. And I'm sure that he's going to put his funky little twisted spin on it. And I'm so excited. He said, give him a year. Give him a year, and it's going to be produced through US game systems or published through US game systems. So just keep an eye on that one. He's got a couple of other projects that he's working on. You will see him talk about this in the teaser video, but it's set to be a fun one. Moving on to number 6, we have the 3rd edition of the Victorian Romantic Tarot by Barber Studios. Now, the Victorian Romantic Tarot, which, by the way, I have here in my hot little hands. This is a beautiful deck. I don't know why I love it like I do, but yes, I do love it. And there's something about this deck that just sort of enchants you. It makes you feel slightly romanticized. And romanced is the word that I'm looking for, not romanticized. Romanced. When you read it, it plays to the softer side of who you are, right? It speaks to the Venetian moons that are right there in my natal chart. Anyway, so that is happening. It's up now. It's up now, so you can go and participate in that. It's got beautiful gilded edges. They do mastery with their artwork and their cards, folks. So they have a tendency of embossing and adding like high gloss spots and beautiful gilded edges, and they do a bit of art with their decks, and they always come in a beautiful box. So it's high quality. They are known to be quite expensive. They do ship worldwide, but you know, it's one of those situations where if you love it, you're going to get it, you know, just like an expensive perfume or a great pair of shoes. If that's your bag, if tarot collecting's your bag, and if you want something that's really beautiful that's going to sit on your shelf and retain value because it is a work of art in and of itself, then you're just going to go that extra mile. You're going to bitch and moan a bit about the postage and handling, but at the end of the day, you're going to be holding in your hot little hands a really beautiful deck. Now, while I'm going on that one, I've got another Barber Studio, and this will bring up my 7th, and that will be my last one. This will be the colored edition of the Mystical Creatures Tarot by Barber Studios. Now, the monochrome version of this deck sold out in weeks. Like in short weeks, not like 3 weeks and 5 days, short weeks, like a week to 2 weeks, it sold out. And it was a beautiful deck. And now they're producing a 2nd edition, which will be a colored edition. They have got around, you know, 2018, 2019 kind of business for that one. So give them time, like their Facebook page and stay up to date with their news if you're interested in that, because it's bound to be a really beautiful deck. And I can't wait to see where they go with that, because most of the decks so far, with the exception of the Bohemian Cat Tarot, which I'm not into Cat Tarot at all, it's all very whimsical creature kind of creation artwork. So there we have it, folks. That is all my tidbits for you today. I hope that you've enjoyed this. All the links to what I've mentioned are in the description box below, so you can check each and every one of those little yummies out for yourself at a later date. Allora is going into shock right now with my absolute
yeah, okay. For those of you who may not have watched us before or are semi-new to our channel, it takes a lot for Adam to find something worthy of copying, pasting links, etc., etc. Or it could just be the excitement of the fact that we haven't been on in a while, and so it's super generous with the admin work.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get into it. So we're kind of known around here to ruffle feathers a little bit. So we thought, why not? Because that's what we do. We bring up controversial things for everybody to get involved in the discussion. And like always, we want you guys to participate. So the first thing I think we should talk about is deck collection versus tarot reading. To me, and this is just outside observation, because for those of you who don't know me, I'm on social media, but I stay kind of in the background and I watch everything that's going on, and I don't always say, too much, but this particular topic is, to me, out of control, because I feel like it's now become a measure of someone's skill, but it's not. And for lack of a better, metaphor, I guess, it's just like men who, mine's bigger than yours is type thing. And it's a little ridiculous to me. I don't think that the number of decks that you own is any indication of the skill that you possess in reading tarot. Jump in, because I know you're both jonesing.
Me. Me. I have a decent collection. Does this make me an expert tarot reader? I received no education whatsoever when it comes to buying a deck. I walk into a store and I think, that's pretty, or I like that. I then buy it. What kind of education have I received in order to just simply purchase a deck? They're freely available just about anywhere, and I can just pick one up whenever I feel like it. I can jump on Etsy, I can jump on somebody's Facebook page, I can jump on somebody's website. I can see a deck that I like and I buy it. Does it mean that I know anything about that deck? Does it mean that I know anything about tarot? No, not necessarily. I could just be buying it because I'm a collector, not necessarily a reader, but a collector. At the end of the day, tarot is art. And I have acquaintances, not friends, but acquaintances who like to collect particularly beautiful decks, but don't know how to read tarot. They love the artwork. They support the artist in their artistic pursuits, and therefore they then go and buy their extension, which is a novelty product for them in their collection. So they have this artist artwork up on their walls. They have, beautiful creations of that artist. They're really interested. And then they have a novelty tarot deck, which somebody else would have in their collection and actually be using, in their reading practice. So having a massive or an extensive collection of decks does not a reader make you. It does not make you proficient at tarot. It doesn't make you an expert at tarot. It doesn't even mean that you know how to read tarot. It is not an indicator of a person's skill in any way, shape, or form. A person can be an absolutely, hands down, incredible, amazing tarot reader with a busted ass deck that they have had for 10 years that's falling apart and still sit across from the table from you and read to you the most incredible, card slinging session of your life. You only need one deck to read tarot. You only need one. You don't need 1,000, and having 1,000 decks does not make you a professional tarot reader. It does not make you an expert in any way, shape, or form. I am a tarot collector, but I am also a tarot reader. For me to become a tarot reader, I have taken course after course. I have books after books after books that I have invested time and energy into reading. I have taken workshops. I have cultivated my craft from daily practice and journaling and meditation and path working. I have been working with my cards for damn near 20 years. And I started off with one deck, one single deck, devoured the book, tore it to pieces, highlighted the shit out of it, memorized it, and got there, and then finally got another one, and then finally got another one, and finally got another one. And now I'm a tarot collector, but before I was a tarot collector, I was a bloody good tarot reader, and I only needed one deck to do that. And that's me and my soapbox. Done.
Hold on just one second. While you're talking about how you're a collector and a reader, I don't know if you guys can really see this, but hold on. I'm going to click on you for a second. But behind Avalon is a shelf. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a shelf of paintbrushes, and you guys can't see it really well. But I know what's there because I've been in that room. But there are paints and brushes and like all kinds of inks. And so I can tell you that AV, from her perspective, the collection part of it is absolutely part artistic because she is an artist. She has learned art, which I think that she should do more of, but we won't get into that. Which, you know, maybe if Anna started her online classes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Feel free to fill out my petition that I'm in the process of creating to send to her husband. I really feel like she just gave me a decent Romanian finger then.
Probably. Okay, Chase, what are your thoughts on deck collecting?
All right. So here's I am probably the testament, the living testament of the reverse this. So a reader doth not make me a collector. I read. It is part of my job. It's part of my job. It is my job, one of my jobs. I am a professional tarot reader. I do not collect decks. I am not a collector. I have no desire to collect decks. I, right now, in my possession, have 10 decks, and I'm overwhelmed, and it's been from gifting, which is sweet of you guys. But, like, I'm overwhelmed by it all. Like, I'm super overwhelmed by it. Like, I don't know what to do with all of them. I don't need all that. In order for me to be a proficient reader, all I really need, and I kept trying to look around for it, because we were talking earlier about a reader only having one busted ass deck. I was looking for my Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but I've been doing a meditation session with that deck, and it's actually in my bedroom, like all over the floor from me breaking down all the majors and stuff. I don't have it, but I wish I had it on you because I want to show you how exactly busted ass a deck can actually get. That's the deck that I have been using since I was actually, it's not, I haven't had it for my whole entire career. This is my second version of the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but it is brown. The cards are bent. The images they have permanent creases in them. And it's the most, like, to me, it's just the most beautiful thing that I have ever purchased and used. And like, when I use that deck, it is everything to me. Every line and crease, like, they even have, I've used it so much, they have like finger imprints on like the side. Like, I'm telling you, it is a busted ass deck, and it's beautiful, and I love it. And that is all I really need. That's it. So I just don't collect, and I don't think that me not collecting hinders my reading ability at all. I say very humbly, I am very skilled in my craft, and I can say that because I've studied. I have spent 15 years studying the craft of tarot and reading and of cartomancy and of divination, and like, it's been a passion of mine. I've studied the history. But again, like, I haven't needed 90,000 decks in order to do that. And I can tell you all the decks that I have all been like given to me within the last year and a half. Like, I just had that one Rider-Waite-Smith deck for like, well, no, I had that and the medicine cards, the Oracle deck. I've had those for the longest, for years. That's all I use. Like, I would go to local metaphysical shops on reading days, and they would hire me just to sit and read for the day. I would just bring that in my Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Just me. So again, the point that we want to drive home, and I think another important point too that I wanted to bring up was that I don't want you guys to think that we're like digging on tarot collectors. Like, it feels like we're not demeaning you by any means if you're a tarot collector. It's perfectly fine. The collection and the act of collecting tarot decks is amazing because the art is amazing, and it's just, again, but we have to keep everything, kind of in its place a little bit. So when we talk about, collector doesn't make you a reader, reader doesn't make you a collector, just keep in mind about, I'm kind of alluding to, I'll finish out with this. So yesterday I had in my general energy read at the end of my live during the Red Earth Ramble, I had a general energy read, and the two cards that I pulled were the Hermit and the High Priestess. In all archetypal energies, those are two pretty opposites. And so the point of the reading and the point of the energies that were coming across to me was, you have to know your place of when to use the energies that the Hermit provides, but you also have to know your place to use the energies that the High Priestess provides. Same thing with being a collector and being a reader. This is its own set of knowledge, its own set of skills, its own set of abilities, as well as a collection side is its own set of skills and abilities and knowledge. And they don't often connect and cross like people think that they do.
And on that note,
I've got one more thing to say, folks. And that is that you don't necessarily need 1,000 books to learn how to read tarot either. And you know, it comes down to a lot of personal work, a lot of intuitive work. But one thing that you simply cannot, you know, brush aside as valuable experience that does shape you as a great reader is reading for other people. So you could have read all the books in the world, watched all the tarot videos, taken all the courses. Again, that means that you know the fundamentals. You know the academic aspect of tarot, if you could call it that. But what happens when you have a person sitting in front of you asking you, well, what about this? Well, what about that? Well, if I do this, what about that? And that immediately makes a static reading a dynamic reading. And so when you are reading on your own, when you are reading just off the information in a book or the several courses that you get, no matter what you do, you're going to be engaged in a static reading because there's not the input of another individual in there. So if you're reading for yourself, this is not to say it can't be spiritual. This is not to say that it can't be sacred. Whenever you shuffle your cards, if you've got good intentions, it's going to be an amazing read. But when you want to go pro, when you want to market yourself as a master of your craft, you need people under your belt, not books or decks on the shelf. I have read for damn near 10,000 people in my life. I've been reading for others. I took my decks to bars and I would read for drinks. I would be sitting there going, yes, you're going to go home with that fella, and they would buy me a drink. They would buy me a drink. That's how I honed my craft, is over time, over energy. If you saw my very first deck, which was the Sacred Circle Tarot, you will see that it's beaten up. It's had a little love, you know. And I would have young men and young women in my 19s, late teens, come to me and ask me. And I was so good at relationship readings. Not necessarily was I good at business readings. And then I became good at business readings when I started to work in the financial sector, and people found out that I was a tarot reader. They would come to me on the side and ask me about investments and ask me if they should invest in this. Now, that is tricky business. That's not something that I would necessarily read for, but what they're asking is about money and resources. And so I would always bring it back to money and resources, how to best manage your money, what kind of tactics you can employ to managing your money. And some of that skill came from the fact that I was working in the financial sector and I had to digest a whole lot of information, you know, regarding that very subject, information that sat in my foundation of knowledge that then I could apply without, you know, being dodgy in any way, just common sense information. And over time, reading for other people, you know, practical life experience shaped me as the reader that I am today. And that is valuable. Reading for other people is of tremendous value, which is why when someone says to me, look, and I've read all these books, I've got all these decks, what can I do to, you know, to get out there? Well, read for other people, read for free. Read on the corner, take your cards to a bar, you know, do what you got to do to interact with other people and to get them to come to you so that you have the experience of that dynamic reading. You have to know what it's like to have a naysayer sit in front of you. You have to know what it's like to have someone get aggressive with you. You have to know what it's like how to deal with somebody who has a mental health issue. And you don't know that until they sit in front of you and you start reading the cards and they start saying some crazy shit. You don't know what it's like to have your heart bleed because you've read for, you know, a refugee. You don't know these kinds of things until you put yourself out there and you bloody well do your craft. And so it doesn't, just because you've got books on your shelf or 1,000 or 6,000 tarot decks, does not mean you've got any skill whatsoever. Skill comes with applying your craft. Applying your craft. And tarot is dynamic, so apply your craft.
Experience.
So Anna had a good point as well. She was talking about how she says, my take is that there is something that gets triggered when you have a variety of decks. Each one has its own energy, language, and messages to give out. And while that is true, I still don't believe that you need multiple decks to be able to read. And I think that, okay, so this is something else that was talked about in the chat, is that a lot of people were saying that the reason why they started buying multiple decks is because it was when they were first learning and they had no impulse control. And then with Anna's, what she's saying.
I have no impulse control.
But with what Anna's saying about how each one has a different energy, different messages, symbolism, et cetera, I feel like that's something that comes later. Like I don't feel like when you're first learning, you're like, oh yeah, these have different energy. Like I think that's a little bit more down the road, because I certainly wasn't like that but I can't really speak to that because I was young when I learned. So I don't even know. I learned with one deck, and from the time I was 14 until I was 26, I had a total of 2 decks in my life. So it wasn't until way later that I started acquiring multiple decks and using them for different purposes.
So true, absolutely true. I had quite a few decks in my collection, and it wasn't really until I found my feet and married it with my witch's practice that I then began to understand how certain decks respond to certain seasons, to certain Sabbaths. And then by extension, then I recognized that certain decks just had a knack for reading relationship questions, and certain decks had a knack for reading, health and fitness questions or academic questions. And certain decks were elusive and great for triggering the muse or for shadow work. And over time, what I came to understand is that, yes, there's many decks that are attuned decks. Some of these are heavily themed, some of these are not, to particular types of questions and energies. But then there is, and this is the unicorn, folks. It's called the Great All-Rounder. It's the unicorn of tarot decks. The unicorn, because it is a mythological deck that occasionally, when all stars align on a particular date at a particular time, when the moon phase, it's in its blood red, triple eclipse, doing something crazy, you come across a deck that you go, holy shit, I can take you anywhere for any reason to read for anybody. And that, my friends, is the unicorn. That is your great all-rounder. Now, there are some great all-rounders out there. I've been at it for a very long time. I've got a couple. Not all my collection is great all-rounders. I've got 5, maybe 7 great all-rounders. And can I just introduce to you one of my favorite great all-rounders? That would be the Sun and Moon Tarot.
That you hated when you got it.
I hate it when I got it. Another one is the Bonefire. The Bonefire Tarot rocks my world with its delicious awesomeness. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Steampunk Tarot by Barbara Moore and Ali Fell. Just because people say that heavily themed decks cannot be all-rounders, well, piss off, because they absolutely can. If you have the Steampunk Tarot by Barbara Moore and Ali Fell, you know that you can read that deck with a pregnant woman who's in a heinous moment of some kind of morning sickness, and you can read it for a media mogul, and you can read it for, some arsey 17-year-old boy who's trying to pick up chicks. You can read it in any situation. I give some really weird, it's really weird descriptive. But it's a beautiful deck, folks. Beautiful deck, and it is an all-rounder despite it's heavily themed. So it does go against the popular belief that an all-rounder cannot be heavily themed, because it absolutely can. You can. You heard it here first. First egg to come. Said it first.
So do we have any more to say on the topic of deck collection versus reading skill?
Just don't get sucked in. Don't get sucked in. Don't get enchanted by someone who's always on a Facebook forum or a YouTube forum saying, I bought this and I've got that. And then they start talking about the artist and I've got this collection and that collection. And, it's very easy to get enchanted by that and to get sucked in, and then to misunderstand that, what's actually going on is that person is a great collector and they know a lot about the collection of tarot, the process of collecting, but it doesn't mean that they're a great reader. So don't get sucked in. Like, gravitate to the people that actually know what they're talking about when it comes to the meanings of the cards. And if you're undecided, then have a reading with somebody, and see for yourself. Like, read reviews. Reviews are fantastic for those kinds of things. Read reviews for readers, and and just be very, very careful with it, because it's your money that you're parting with, And it's important to make sure that when you're parting with your cash, it's for a worthwhile reason that is going to lead to some kind of amazing empowerment experience. So that's what tarot is all about, really. Empower, inspire, kick your ass all together in one lovely little bundle.
It's the grand trifecta.
The triangle of power, bitch. And that's it, guys. I've got nothing more to say, or I could just go on forever either way.
Yeah. Well, we have another topic to cover. Well, we have 2 more topics, but let's talk money because this is a big deal. So you've been reading for a while. You have been reading for other people for a while. You're starting to gain some confidence. You're ready to try it as a business venture, whether it's a small business on the side or you want to turn professional tarot reader. How do you know when to do that, when to start charging? How do you know what to charge, et cetera, et cetera? So the first person I'm going to go to is Chase, because this is so his topic.
This is so me.
Okay.
This is the shit I love to talk about. So let me just
rip this to shreds.
I'm in. So the first thing that I want to bring up, and now I want to start out this conversation, is that if you are just now asking yourself if you are ready to charge for your readings, I'm going to answer that honestly and say you're probably not. And let me hear me out. And let me tell you why. So, yeah.
Please tell me more, sir.
So the things that you need to establish first before you start charging for money, you need obviously a price point. How much do you charge? Well, how much does everybody else around you charge? You know, it's the same premise with PT. Here in the Midwest, I can't charge Hollywood prices for my PT services. I will never get that. People will laugh at me. So you have to keep that in mind too. Before you start saying, you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm worth $60 an hour. Well, what does everybody else in your area charge? Because that may be, you may be undercutting yourself and you may be over, you know, over what you are actually worth. And so you have to figure those things out first. And so once you have that set up, once you have like a price point, well, are you then ready to start charging money for your readings? Still probably not. And keep hearing me out. So what you also need before you start charging is you need a business model, a business plan. Who are you? What is your brand? What are you about? What are you best reading at? What are your hobbies? Like, let people know you and who you are your brand and what your brand dictates within the tarot sphere. These are all important things to set up and to have before you start charging money. And another important part of that is, I feel like people then, once you, well, no, let me go back too. So you can also ask yourself this question too, a very simple question. Well, are you willing to buy food and survive off, you know, making money from tarot reading? Well, if you say yes, well then fuck yeah. Well then start charging and start making a business model and just take the dive and just fucking do it. You know, you can't saying the fuck word more than I ever have in an episode before.
I noticed.
I'm passionate about
me. You've said it more than me.
I know. It's so
me.
I feel so dirty.
I know. You're filthy. Filthy.
I'm filthy dirt. Filthy man. So, but like, I feel like when we start talking about money and charging, the thing that stemmed, I keep getting off, I want to say so much. So the thing that stemmed this conversation before was that we were having a legit conversation as STW, as a brand. Are we ready to start like a Patreon? Are we ready to start? Is this a move that we want to make? And like all of the sudden, like that makes everybody so like step back a little bit, like, whoa, shit. We're going to start asking for money for our services. Well, you know what? The people that, a really good example that I have is Arwen Lynch. Would I pay for her Patreon? Like if I didn't have my own tarot business and, you know, I wasn't established in that way, would I pay for her services? Fuck yeah, I'd go to a Patreon. And absolutely, because what she offers is worth it. So you have to figure out too, now back to what I was saying, you have to figure out too, are your services worth it? And be very honest with yourself. The businesses that are out there making money are out there because, I won't say all of them 100%, because there are some sketchy businesses out there, and we've established before, there are some sketchy tarot readers out there who are making money. We don't know why. Why they are making money, we don't know. But that's a whole nother, if you want that.
What he said.
Go back to our ethics episode. We all of that. But all of that. Rewatch that. And so, but the businesses are out and they are running and they are making money and they are successful because people have taken the time. Again, I'm not talking 100%. They have taken the time to really establish what their business is, what their brand is. These are important things when we're talking about money. People are not just going to shell out money, and you also can't come to the topic of earning money for your readings and be shy about it either. And these are all rules that I learned at PT2. Like when I have a client whose PT package is expiring, like I can't come to that training and be like, well, if this, it's our last session, and if you want, you don't have to, but if you want, if you like me, then you could, I don't know, maybe pay more for some more sessions. Like you can't approach it like that either. It's something that you just have to go. You have to be balls up about it and just be like, hey, this is our last session. Right now we are in the middle of making some great gains with this, and this. So if this is something that you want to keep doing and keep going, and the next package price if you're going to renew for the 10 sessions you had is going to be $500 or whatever. And so like you just have to approach it with that confidence. That's business confidence, and that is what instills confidence in a querent or whatever. And you need to use this outside of tarot business. It instills confidence in other people when you approach your business with confidence and you approach the, it's just such a sinkhole for people when they talk about money. Well, are you willing to sacrifice your food for it? If this is something that you literally want to feed yourself with, then absolutely yes. And don't let fear take you over and that not be the reason that you don't. If, the asking for money is the problem for you, I'm telling you, there are workshops out there for you. I have watched in the last decade of being in the fit biz, the problem is that trainers have a problem asking for money. We have problems asking for money when it comes to membership to join a gym. There are workshops out there. There are videos out there. Go out on YouTube and they will teach you how to build rapport with people, and which will gain confidence for you, and how to then finish the conversation by asking for the money. Take the money. Business rule number 1, take the money. I'm done. Next.
I will say, because I was listening to everything that you had to say, a couple things I wanted to add. So when you're talking about having a legit business model and putting yourself out there, branding yourself, et cetera, one thing that I want to add is that when you decide to go legit tarot business, you really need to pay attention to law and ethics and so forth, and you need to draw up exactly what your ethics are, what you're about, what you're not about, what you will do, what you won't do. And if you're reading, if you're reading live and in person, you need to have copies, like printed out copies, where the people who come to you can sign. They can read it and they can sign it. This is just a standard cover your ass type thing, because some people, you can tell them 100 times, a tarot reading is not meant to, help you make a decision whether you're going to sell your house or not. And some people will do it anyways and then come back and blame you or whatever. So just make sure that you cover your ass legally when you go legit tarot business. Another thing that Chase said when he was talking about, and another thing that I saw in the chat, was tarot as a hobby versus tarot as a business. When you take tarot as a hobby and turn it into a business, one of the, I guess, in between stages where you can figure out what you're worth and so forth and so on. Keep in mind, you kind of have to add percentage to it because it is donation, but start taking donations when you're in that in-between stage, so you can start to get an idea, as well as look at, if you're online in any capacity, look at readers who are where you're at in just wanting to make that transition and what they're charging, and then you can play off of what the going rate is and what you're valuing yourself at. And I think that's a good place to start. Okay, AB.
Oh, sorry.
No, go, Chase.
I think another point that I wanted to really talk about that I didn't bring up that I think is super important when talking about asking for money for, you know, wanting to turn your hobby into a business. That's basically what we're talking about in plain simple terms, turning your hobby into a business, whether it be tarot, whether it be, I don't know, selling socks, whether it be making erasers, whatever it is. So the other key part of that too is that it takes time in order for a business to be truly successful. There is no business that starts out immediately profitable. You have to think about, of course, with tarot, it's kind of, there's really no overhead or things like that. But you have to think about those things. People aren't going to be willing to pay for somebody right away who doesn't have any experience. We were talking earlier about how experience, or how important experience is. Experience, big experience. You cannot say enough about how important experience is. And so the thing that the fastest way I can tell you from experience, the fastest way to build up your business and to start, especially in a business that relies so heavily on word of mouth, like tarot, you have to go out and read people, trade your services. And that sounds like, again, like I was saying earlier, if you're just now asking the question, if you finally gotten the confidence to ask yourself the question, am I ready to start charging? Well, probably not yet. You're probably not going to make money yet. What you need to do in order to establish that word of mouth and that trust with people is to trade out services, trade out tarot readings for haircuts. I did this both with tarot and with PT2. I traded out services for haircuts. I traded it out for dry cleaning services. I traded out for a tire for my truck. I traded everything that I could possibly trade it out for. I traded it out for food. If I told somebody, hey, if I give you tarot reading, will you go buy me a friggin' cheeseburger? They'd be like, oh, hell yeah. So like that's going to be your quickest way. That takes 6 months.
So basically you just need to start pimping yourself out.
Basically, yeah. If you start doing this, then you're going to start having that sort of word of mouth and people will start talking about other people. And so after that 6 month mark, you finally get that first person that will come to you and be like, oh, well, I heard Jason told me that you were a really phenomenal tarot reader. How much are you? Well, you can be like, oh, I charge this month. They're like, okay, sweet. And you'll have your first paying client within 6 months, guaranteed.
Yes. It's a good point. Well, I'll tell you my little story. I've been playing around with the cards for, as long as I have, and I keep saying it, and I feel like if I keep saying it even more, it just makes me sound a bit, and that's not what it's all about. But I'd been playing with the cards for a really long time, and I found them when I was in my late teens, and I loved them. I fell in love with them. And of course, I used them, and I flicked through the book and I highlighted and I tried out all the spreads. I'd seen my mum use Marseille. She's not a particularly good tarot reader, but she loved it. She fancied herself a very good reader. She's not really, but she now knows that because I read for her. So that's the thing, right? But what happened was I used to play with the cards, literally play with the cards. And then I would involve my boyfriend at the time or my friend that I was living in, my roommates, and I would just play with the cards, right? And over the years, I just kept playing with the cards. I mostly read for myself because I have always found tarot to be a very functional compass for who I am and the way that I like to do things. And so I consider it a great counsel for a person that used to move around a lot, for a person that had multiple different really wild relationships, career changes, and lots of travel and that. I needed something steady with me all the time. I'd lived somewhere, cultivated a best friend, and then I'd move, but my tarot decks were always with me. And I would travel overseas and my tarot deck was with me. And everything else around me could change, but my tarot deck was my steady compass. It was my constant. And so I leaned into my tarot quite a bit to become reliant on its wisdom, its value, and its direction that it would give me. And so what I found happened just very naturally is that when you carry this thing and you're known for using this thing and you use it for yourself, I used it for myself every damn day and, wrote journals and people would come in to visit you and you would have a tarot, spread out on your little altar. Well, I have an altar because I'm a witch, but out on my bed or out on the altar. And they're like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, it's a tarot deck. It's my, it's my little hobby that I like to do. Eventually they start to ask you to read for them. And I would read for people. Anyone who asked me for a reading, I would happily give them a reading. It was my way of learning to then apply my tarot in different ways and to take on, different perspectives. Again, that static to that dynamic, transference. And then, you know, I got to the point where, you know, I read for one girl and she's like, oh, look, you know, I went home and I told my mum, and, you know, I worked with this girl, so there was no exchange of money. So I went home and I told my mum, she really wants to read your cards. Like, how much would you charge her? And I said, I said to her, I don't actually charge money, but I'm happy to accept a donation or, you know, something else. I don't mind. I had 2 jobs at the time. I was really happy with the work that I was doing, and I didn't feel like I needed to make a career out of it. So I sat with this woman and I read, and we had a cup of tea, and I giggled, and she gave me $50 at the time, which would be the equivalent of damn near $150 today, because that was that long ago. And I thought to myself, like, that was amazing to me. I just couldn't believe that that was a thing. And, you know, from that moment on, anybody who said, can I have a reading? What do you charge? I would say the exact same thing. Like, I don't have a set charge. You can pay me what you think it's worth. You can give me a donation. We can exchange a service, whatever. And I eased into it until I actually moved to potentially Thursday Island, Kansas, Queensland area, just while I had, you know, young children. I never, ever used tarot as a main form of income. And being a parent now and, you know, having very limited time, it's still not a full-time business for me, but it does make me quite a bit of money. And it's money that I can then spend on my family. I can then spend on my children. I don't market myself. I don't brand myself in the same way as a professional reader would. You know, like take Ethany Dawn, for instance. She is the epitome of someone who is making it out of her craft. She has her logo. She has her academy. She has her deck. She has everything packaged and polished. She's a business major, by the way. So if you want to see how it's done, go and have a look at her thing. But it's a choice to be made. And I fell into this because I didn't want to put my children in daycare and, you know, and go to work. I have no problem with working a mainstream job, but I didn't want to allow somebody else to raise my children. So I looked at the skill set that I have, and I'm like, people actually have paid me money over the years. I've received beautiful faceted jewels. I've received, you know, delicious, you know, meals, and you know, all sorts of business has come to me in that way. And I thought, well, I might just start offering readings. When I jumped onto Etsy for the first time, the person that helped me the most was Charlie Says Go, because I had no idea what Etsy was all about. And yet I saw that everybody was using Etsy, and I thought, oh, I'll just give that a red hot go, shall I? She was invaluable to setting up my Etsy store. ALLORAH'S was the second person that comes to my aid. And, you know, and that's way back then. That was way, way, way back then. And I started offering tarot readings by email. Now, this is where Chase and I meet in the middle. Just know yourself. I'm dyslexic. I can't fucking type. Not for people anyway, not for anybody who gives a damn. And so, you know, it became one of those things that I started off as email, but quickly figured out that that's not the way that it's done for me, but it worked for other people. And then slowly and surely I exercised my mojo, and I increased my prices slowly over the years because I joined an association, a tarot readers association. I wanted professional training. I wanted to be amongst professionals. I bought countless books. I researched, I studied, I took courses, and I refined my skill. Up until that point, I was self-taught until I actually invested the time and money to refine my skills. Then I thought, well, I now have a right as a reader who is investing time and energy into her craft to begin charging for that, because it cost me money to get to that point, you know, and I was very okay with then asking for money in exchange for a service that I had put, you know, resources into cultivating a type of skill set. So I went that way. And then I recognized that I was getting lots and lots of clients, and I didn't have the time. I didn't have the time to read for all those clients. And if I did keep my prices at that, I would have had a waiting list that was almost 18 months long. And I didn't do that. So I received expert advice from various professional readers that say you're too cheap. You know, I still get that to this day. You're too cheap. I'm starting to listen at this moment because I do spirit work and I do tarot simultaneously, and my spirit work knocks it out of me to the point where I can only do 1, maybe 2 in a day. And if I do 1 spirit work session, then I can't really do any readings for that day. And so it becomes very taxing and very time consuming. Whereas a tarot reading, I can do 25 in one day. I can card sling from the time the sun comes up to the time the sun comes up the next day. And yes, I have to ground and center in the middle of it, but a lot of time and a lot of energy gets poured into these services. I adore, for those who have seen my sacred space setup, you know that a great deal of attention and care is placed into this environment in which I read in, all of which cost me money. All of this cost me money. All of it did. Over time, I've accrued it. Over time, I'm worthy of it. As a reader, I know that I'm good because I get good feedback. And, and I charge money because what I do now means that I put my child in daycare for 2 days of the week, which is all I'm prepared to do. 2 days of the week so that I can not only read tarot, but create. And it took me time. It took me years upon years upon years to reach this moment. And I'm still considered very cheap for what I do. It serves me right now. It's not, my prices will change soon, and you'll see, because I'm entering into a different phase in my professional career, and my prices will reflect that professional change. But it happened to me over time. It wasn't something that I picked up the cards, I fell in love with them. A year later, I was offering professional readings. I'm sorry, I just don't think that that's long enough. I don't care how many times a day you use your cards. It takes a really long time to cultivate the skill to be at a point where you can ask someone for their hard-earned money. And lots of feedback came to me, and lots of people just naturally offered me money, and that was the point where I realized that I had a product that was worthy of money, because people wanted to give me money for my service, not because I asked for it, not because I myself thought I'm ready to offer my services for money. No, people just gave me money because they appreciated the level of care, attention, and skill that went into creating a reading for them. And so that's how it happened for me personally. And how it happens for everyone is going to be different. And some people are just going to get the blazing fire and want to get out there and be a professional reader after 5 days of reading tarot. And then you get your hacks. Everybody knows there's plenty of hacks out there. There's plenty of people that really, they say, oh, I've had 5 years of experience, but really they've only had 6 months. And, it becomes very difficult then. You have to filter through the minefield of tarot hacks in order to get to a decent reader. But at the end of the day, reviews mean everything. I have damn near 200 reviews on my Etsy store. If you were to ask my in-person clients before internet was a thing, I have more people that you could ask. And word of mouth, it's worth something. And so read your reviews, and in order to start to offer money, just make sure that what you've got is a damn good product, and that you're proud. Above all else, you're proud and you're confident in your craft and in your skill and in your product, and then get prepared to ask or accept. Simple as that. The end of my memoirs.
Holy hell, you might want to take a breath. Take a sip of water. Okay, so we were going to cover another topic, but it is, we have like 45 minutes because Chase has a big day tomorrow, and Ab has kids, and I have stuff to do. So I'm going to cut the topic short so we can card sling for a little while. What do you say? Yeah? Okay. I am going to go refill my cup and take a bathroom break. You guys.
Me too.
What was our third topic? What was our third topic?
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Right. That's right. Well, we could, that's a whole episode in itself.
Yeah.
We can make that our next one.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be easy.
Okay. I'll be right back. Okay,
mini break.
mini break. So, hello everybody. How are you guys? This is the point where they go off and do their thing, and then I just get to chat with you guys. So we are going to sling some cards for you guys. Thank you guys for coming back and hanging out with us. Man, it just feels so good to still have your support. We have like this nervous talk of, when you take a long break, you just don't know. You don't know who's still here, and I love it. Love it. Love you guys. We love you guys. We love you guys. So if anybody, let's go ahead and start doing this now. Let's start lining up questions. So if anybody has a question that they would like for us to answer with our cards, please go ahead and leave that in the STW rules. Thank you. Thank you. If you do have a question, again, please leave it over in the comment section below, and our wonderful Jennifer will help us will help us monitor that. That's the word I'm looking for. Jesus, can I talk tonight? Will help us monitor that. And yes, please put all questions in caps or start with our hashtag. No, @ spread the switches so that we can see it, because I will be the one that will be transferring it over from your chat into our personal chat that we have over here to, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we have like our own little chat in our Hangout, like where we do our live filming from, our Google Hangout. And so we always just like, we have little mini conversations throughout our whole entire, our live. One of us will start a little conversation over the side. We always have those little chats, those little inner moments. So we will transfer those questions over into our chat, and that's how we keep track of all of your guys' questions. Should I work for myself? Talk to me about Keither Binah and Yisad. Ooh. My goodness, you speak my language. My goodness, ma'am. My goodness. Well, I could talk about Keither Binah and Yisad all day. What would you like to know?
Oh my gosh, she's talking about Kabbalah. I just realized.
Oh, Mom.
Can you tell me how to pronounce something? Because I'm adding Kabbalistic components to my guidebook, by the way, friend.
Mouth, why have you not asked me earlier?
I just wanted to know how to pronounce. Okay, so the suit of swords is associated to, is it Tiferet? Thank you.
Yes.
Tiferet. Yes, formation.
Indeed.
Excited. I'm just like, oh my God, it makes sense to me. just like formation. That adds an extra layer. So now every time I'm reading swords, I'm like, it's about formation.
Isn't it amazing? It literally, like, just the layers of, God, it's so awesome. I just love the.
I was really enthused about that. It's sort of with me, like especially swords as formation, because I think to myself, we always conceptualize the swords in such a way that it's all about the mental scape, but really when you think about it, you can say it's mental, you can say it's visualized, you can say but it's all formation, isn't it? That's where it all forms. Like that's where the idea all forms. And I'm like, oh, that's so deep. And again, why the suit of swords happens to be my favorite suit, right?
Formation. They often talk about Tiferet as formation and foundation. The formation of a foundation. Yes.
That's right.
Beautiful.
Yes. I'm excited. I'm absolutely ecstatically excited. You know what? All this talk about all-rounders and what have you.
Oh, look at this, you guys. So Solaria said, y'all offer great information and diverse perspectives on a wide range of topics. It breeds loyalty. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, I like that a lot. But I also think that it's totally important to talk about such obscure topics. Like, here's a little thing, and this is no offense to anybody, but I get a little bit bored of the same old. You know, when people who are dedicated to tarot channels, it's all about my collection, my top 10, this one, that one. You know, I like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm a bit of a fan of, like, you know, your top 10. Like, I'll wait all day long for racings. Like, the decks that I'm working with for autumn, I fucking love it. You know, I do. But at the same time, it's too much. It can be too much of the same. And you know, you get your odd readers that really talk about the substance of the card. Let's talk about the, you know, 8 of Wands and how we can really harness that active component and really, you know, embrace the energy of the card. And, you know, I like that kind of thing. I don't do that kind of thing, but I like it. I should do that kind of thing. That way I wouldn't be such a hypocrite going, I don't do it, but I like it.
That's funny that you say that, because the last video I watched of yours was 10 of my favorite things. You were saying that and I was like, yeah.
It's totally easy. It's totally easy to do. Like, I love them. I love to do them as well because, you know, I've got a pretty, you know, decent collection and, you know, that's it, you know, and I love my March favorites and that. But, you know, when I take for my Instagram yesterday, I pulled 3 cards for the week and I'm sitting there and I'm telling you the whys and the hows of the Tower, the whys and the hows of the Page, the whys and the hows. I don't just go, the Tower is for Monday and so this is what's going to happen. And the Page of of Swords, and this is what's going to happen. No, I'm like, the Page of Swords means this. It stands for this. It encapsulates this. And let's just go with that. I'm a bit deep and meaningful.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Not really, though.
Formation and foundation.
Y'all can all thank me for her new daily Instagram, because when I was at her house, I'm like, I don't know why you're not using these dailies.
She kicks my ass.
Oh, I know.
She kicks my ass. She's just like, why don't you do more of this? Why don't you do more of that? And you know what? That could have been a really good segue into imposter syndrome, couldn't it? It could be a really good segue into the 7 of Wands.
Done it.
For next time. We'll begin that little story the next time.
All right, so what is everybody reading with?
Well, I didn't even tell my whole like pro tarot story. I don't have much to say because mine was just like an evolution over time. But I will say that from the age of 14, when I sat down and actually learned tarot, I didn't start reading for people till I was 26, 27, somewhere in there. Yeah. So it's not something that I was like, oh, I've been reading for 3 weeks. Totally gonna charge money for this. Like, nope, not even close.
Yeah. I get a bit triggered by that kind of business, you know, like 1 minute, especially this is more visual, say on YouTube, for instance, you'll see a channel pick up a deck and go like, you know, I've started using tarot, then all of a sudden they talk about tarot. It's the first time you've ever heard them say anything about tarot, and next minute they're like, I'm offering readings.
I'm using this one.
I'm dubious. Oh, the new era elements, is it?
Yeah, you know, well, I'm using it, and then I have Sacred Earth Oracle and Earth Magic Oracle sitting over here. They read so well together, but they have some of the same images, exact same images, same artist.
Well, hang on, I have to close my notebook here so that I can access my Oracle deck side, because you know, Mama's got her sides. One tarot, one oracle. It's like a wonderland of cards. Oh my God, I feel so blessed. Like,
has Mama had her go-go juice?
Mama's had a go-go juice. Yes, she has. Made myself 2 French presses of coffee today. Organic coffee. Found this delicious little organic coffee shop next to my favorite farmer's market called Sipping Duck. All right. I'm good to go. I'm using, just for this round, because I've got choices here, folks. You all know I've got choices. I'm using for this round the Steampunk Tarot because I really want you to see how much of an all-rounder it actually is. So come at me. Come at me.
Very nice.
I have a funny story about this. I think it was the 5 of Cups. Yeah, it was the 5 of Cups. No, the 5 of Cups was when I was horridly morning sickness. And every time I would read with this deck, I would pull the 5 of Cups. And I was like horribly, like nauseated. Every fucking day I'd pull that card. And I'm like, oh, so it means nausea as well. It means nausea as well. Yeah, I've got good stories with this one.
Yeah.
Did anybody see, because I don't see Anna's question.
What question?
Oh, no, we were talking about, she mentioned.
No, we have a list going, and it says Jennifer's got it, but I don't see Anna's question because she's listed.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. So Anna asked something about the Kabbalah earlier. It wasn't like a legit, it may have been a legit question. Maybe it was, but it was more of a tease to me to talk about the Kabbalah.
Okay.
And we did. We danced.
We did the dance.
Grand jetade with the Kabbalah. Settle down, folks. There was no grand jetade. Okay.
Settle down. Nobody got excited except you.
All right, so shall we dive into our first question?
Yes. Okay, let me pull up. So the questions are listed somewhere, I take it? Oh, yes, there they are.
On to the right side of our little chat, yes.
Thank you, Chase.
So our first question is from Punky, and she asks, should I work for myself? Should I?
Me first.
Of course. Of course.
It's my birthday soon.
No, for fuck's sake.
But she's not.
I got the Chariot. I got the Chariot. And the Chariot has a double layer to it. And it's a layer that I quite like. The Chariot is quite positive and quite successful. So you've got a general yes answer already from the Chariot. But the Chariot is about balancing as well, balancing responsibilities, balancing the greater facets of your life. It's so in the question of should I work for myself, are you in fact capable of it? Can you effectively balance a home business or your own business with your other commitments? And if you can't answer yes at this stage in your life, you've still got room to move in order to tweak that to a yes answer, because like I said, the Chariot has an overall positive message to it. It is a strong moving forward message. So even in a preliminary state, it can mean placing the foundations so that you can step into that career path where you do in fact work for yourself, but an overall beautiful positive energy. Now it really does depend on what my fellow readers bring into play. So come at me, bro. Go
ahead, Chase.
So the card that I have drawn, so yes, I'm going to be using playing cards because I got to get my mind right into this tutorial that I'm making. So I will be using playing cards this evening to show you how easy it is to read with them when you talk about numerology and Kabbalah. So we have the 7 of Spades, and the spade we were talking earlier about swords, and we were talking about in the Kabbalah. It's what?
Whatever you say it
is. Thank you, Laura. The formation of foundation. And so when you talk about, we can literally say, okay, so we know this. What I like to think of, and I'm going to change this a little bit. So what I like to think of, the key word for the 7 that I like to think of is thriving. So we have talk about swords, we're talking about our thoughts. So we're talking about the thriving of thoughts. So what is that keyword that comes to my mind? Well, it'll be creativity. And so is this card telling, your question was, should I work for myself? You've got the creative mind to do it. Absolutely, 100%, no doubt in your mind. The thing that you have to think about, so you've got the creative side, right? So there's 2 sides of our brain. So we've got the creative side. What it's telling me is that in order to turn this into a firm yes, is that you have to then get the logical side to be just as committed and just as strong as your creative side. Ta-da!
Balancing. Balance.
And I'll be the sweet sugar on the top.
Oh, sweet. Give me your sugar, honey.
Well, I tried to pull from New Era Elements, but it wasn't throwing anything, so I switched to Sacred Earth Oracle real fast, and it threw one out. So this is what came up.
I love the art so much. Oh my God.
It says friction. So along with what my soul siblings were saying, you're having conflicting emotion over it, of course, or else you wouldn't be asking this question. So try to remove, Chase was talking about the creative side and the logical side. So now I'm telling you to remove the emotion out of the equation and try that. Try looking at it that way, without emotional attachment, without emotional investment. And that way you can really logically and objectively look at, what is your business plan? Is it sound? Is it feasible? Is it plausible? Is it going to work? Do you have the proper advertising and networking and all those things in place? And because I think that you're stumbling and you're having all these issues because you are very attached to whatever it is you want to do. And I think that's what's holding you back, because you're having this fear of failure. Because you are so attached. So try to remove your emotions from the equation and think about it just in logical terms and see where you end up.
Yes, beautiful. Beautiful.
Where are we at? Jennifer Ball. Spiritual Garage. Have one. What is blocking me from my weight loss goals?
Ooh. I'm all over this like a fat kid on a cupcake, mate. So let's get to it. Such an Aussie slang. Got to get in there with my Australianisms, folks.
Australia.
Australia.
Not Australia.
Australia.
Go ahead. You got one.
I do. Oh, am I the only one with a card? Fabulous. I want to start this off so much because the PT in me wants to help. So here's what
you're all over this one.
Right? We've got the 5 of diamonds. And so when we talk about diamonds, we're talking about pentacles. We're talking about our resources. When we talk about the 5, we are talking about in the position of the Sephiroth, we're talking about the keyword that I like to think about is push. And so when we're talking about a push of resources, what I think of is a literal impact. And so what this card is telling me is that there is something, all of the methods that you've tried have lacked that impact that you are looking for. It's telling me that you're looking for something very, very specific. And most people who are going through weight loss struggles they're waiting for that thing. And the message in all of that is that you can't let the thing determine what has impact on you. You have to go out and find that thing, because once you find that thing that has meaning, that's what's going to have impact on you, if all of that makes sense. So it's just, again, simplicity saying that it's trial and error. You have to learn that, you know, what works for one person. I don't know how much of this is the PT side of me or the reader side of me, but you know, you have to think too about, just because it worked for your friend doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. Our bodies work individually as individuals. That was a terrible sentence, but it's true.
So good. So good.
Revolutionary statements. Hashtag.
The goods. So, but our bodies work individually. You know, we don't process sugar the same as somebody else. We don't process fat the same as somebody else. We're not going to you're sitting next to somebody who is super skinny and will be their entire life because their metabolism rocks. And that is just an unfortunate part of life. And, you know, we all just process these things differently. So it's important that you keep all of those key points in mind and really sit down and really think about, okay, well, when I've eaten this way in the past, this happened to me. These specific foods did this to me. So what I need to do is then I need to find the foods that don't do this to me. So if you notice that your diet was full of carbs, and I'm not saying this because carbs are bad for you. I will never say that. That is not true. Not all carbs are bad for you. Are simple sugars bad for you? Yes, but that doesn't make all carbs bad for you. That's like saying, just because one car got in a car crash means that all cars are not good. That's not true. So you have to figure out which carbs are good, which carbs are bad. And that doesn't necessarily mean that what carbs are good for you are good for somebody else. So you just have to figure out these things. And you have to figure out, again, going back to what the reading was. So you have to figure out what that thing that has an impact on you. All of that to say, the word impact, going back to our keyword. Find that thing that has an impact on you. Don't wait for that thing to find you, because that's not how it works. Unfortunately, it takes a very active part of yourself to find that thing. Make sense?
Can I go next?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Chase, you had a 5, didn't you?
I did.
Which equates to the 5 of Pentacles, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so I have the 5 of Wands. And
Okay.
so my cards are actually being like super literal. So I got the 5 of Wands. If you can hear it, I can't focus.
Focus on me.
Okay, so 5 of Wands and also the Father of Water. So what this tells me is that you're an emotional eater. You get anxiety and you grab chips. So quite literally, your emotions are probably your stumbling block when it comes to self-discipline and just not reaching for things that you know aren't exactly good for you, I would say. And when Chase was saying, you know, what works for one person doesn't work for everybody, you have to pay attention to the foods that you're eating. Most certainly. And I think that with the 5s, the 2 5s that we have here, that indicates that something has to change, obviously. So I would say be mindful when you are emotionally eating, and pay attention to what it is you're grabbing for. Because if you if you need to emotionally eat, there are things that you can change your snacks to, or that are better for you than others. If you find that you're stressed out and you grab a bag of carrots, that's certainly better than grabbing a bag of chips or something super, ice cream or whatever. Okay, so AV, what do you got?
I got judgment.
Woo!
Yeah, guys, I got judgment. So, look, I it's not going to be kind. Let's say it that way. Okay. You need the reckoning. Like, you need a reckoning. You need to be shocked into a change. And unfortunately, some people do. Some people only make these drastic life changes where they completely overhaul their health and their fitness when they're diagnosed with some, heinous disease that really requires them to be better, and it forces them into that perspective. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. Okay, don't allow yourself to fall into that position where you're only half-assing your efforts. The fact of the matter is, you have full control over your life. You have full control over over your decision-making responsibilities, and it's you who chooses to do the things that you do. It's 100% solely you. It's not your culture. It's not your partner. It's not your kids. It's 100% you. And so, whatever habits you use as a coping mechanism, i.e. emotional eating, can be one of those choices that you simply just cut out of your life. And it's easier said than done, absolutely. And it's not something that is necessarily all the way fun, and it's not something that is necessarily going to be super cruisy and easy for you. You may cry. Gosh, you may cry. You may have to push yourself emotionally. You may have to push yourself physically. You may find your body reacting in ways that it's never reacted before because you haven't used it in ways that you're using it now. You need to increase that level of movement and dedicate yourself to it. And I'm talking about the wands here when I say level of movement. Wands is very fiery here, right? But with judgment, it's about that crossroads. It's about that decision. You need to be prepared to initiate and dedicate. You could look at it as an initiation from life or a dedication of heart, soul, and spirit. And you need to be able to make sure that is your number one priority. It's a trump. Therefore, it's the biggest card in this reading. It's a trump. So the choice is yours. It's a decision that you have to make. You've come to a crossroads. You need that bolt of lightning. You need that epiphany. You need to be able to push yourself into that phase of reckoning and dedicate yourself wholly and solely to the process. And don't be a pussy about it, because you are in control. And I expect better of you. Simple as that.
Well, and I'm going to add to this because she asked a follow-up question. She asked if coaching would be beneficial. And I would say that if you feel like you're a person that needs another person to hold you accountable to what you say that you're going to do, coaching would absolutely be beneficial. However, if you are going to do the coaching and you're still not going to listen to what the other person has to say, you're just going to end up getting out of it. You're wasting your money. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's my take on that.
Sometimes it helps to rope a friend into it. I'm currently walking every afternoon with one of my coven sisters. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we go on this massive 8K walk and have good fun moving our bodies, And I've had to throw myself into the process of heavily considering, my health and vitality. I know personally, and this is another thing, when you are in that phase of optimal health, and optimal health looks different to each and every person, I feel spirit. I feel confident. I feel things. I'm much more awake. I'm alert. I'm alive. I'm more articulate. I sleep better. I listen better. My patience is better. My life is better as a result of that. And your life can be amazing if you just dedicate to that process.
Avalon's taking me to church over here. I want to stand up and start stomping my feet and dance, and yes, all of that, yes, so much of that, yes.
I'm so bossy as a reader.
So bossy.
All right, what's our next one, folks?
All right, so we had Chrome ask us. Was it Chrome asked us? Where did it go? She asked, how can I get better at staying grounded while also pushing forward spiritually? And I just shuffled my card back into my deck, and that's so dumb.
I really hope somebody draws the Hierophant.
You know what I drew?
What?
The Seven of Wands. Avalon, you can probably tell this card better than I can because you have been in a Seven of Wands journey for like what, a month?
Yeah. Yeah, I too have not been reaching my potential.
So as far as this card relating to that question, I would say stand in your power, be empowered, empower yourself. And you need to be courageous enough to walk through, well, you can look at them. So this is firefighters walking through smoke to get to a fire. So you need to be courageous enough to walk through smoke when you don't know what's on the other side. I think that you're kind of in this state of what's next. You're not really sure which direction to go. But as far as staying grounded while also pushing forward, like I said, stand in your power and don't be afraid to take the next step forward. Don't be afraid to branch out, to try new things, to employ a form of divination you never have before, or to go to a deity you never have before if you subscribe to deity worship. Don't be afraid to do things you haven't done. And also conviction. Stand up for what you believe in. Stand up for your convictions. And just, yeah, stand your ground. That's what I'd say. What do you got over there?
I suppose I'm next because our
Avalon left.
Right?
Because it's her birthday and shit.
Because it's her birthday, and it's almost her birthday, and so her birthday with her birthday on her birthday with her birthday to read on her birthday to do her birthday with her birthday.
I demand you sing me happy birthday on the day of my birthday and do it just like that.
So demanding she is. So the card that I've drawn, so we're staying in the 5th spot in the Sephiroth, which is Gebra, and that is still push. And so we're talking about push, but now we're into the hearts, we're into the cups, we're talking about emotions. So a push of emotions. The key word that I think of in my head is projection. So now that I have gone through all that, I forgot the question.
Stay grounded while pursuing spirituality.
Right. So you have to literally project yourself forward. There is no, and what I'm also getting the message of projection, so we can project ourselves onto something too. So I think it's important to find that ability to project yourself necessarily, or have a deity project themselves onto you. To take on kind of the attributes, the things that we can do to connect and stay grounded in that way is that we can take on the attributes of whatever it is that we're studying. So if I am trying to channel Maui, I will take on, Maui's all about discovery and about exploring and those kinds of things. Well, you're not going to connect to that kind of deity or that kind of energy unless you embody that and you take that on, and because if you and you got to take it in little. Sorry, I'm getting lots of messages in my head. You have to take it on in little pieces too. And so the thing that we can get lost in the way that we lose our grounding and we sort of float off into these things is we take on all this stuff at the same time because we want this new thing and we want this new energy and we want to just live in this extreme new, like we found this energy that we love, and so we just completely dive in and we submerge ourselves into it. And it's important that we kind of, again, break it off into little pieces and just stay grounded in the taking on, master this tiny piece of it, this piece of this energy, meditate on this little bit. And then once you've mastered this and you feel like you've really controlled this, then add on just a little bit more, maybe dive in a little bit more into this feeling, into this emotion, whatever it is, whatever this calling is. And then once you've mastered that, you can keep building. And the next thing you know, all these little pieces are together to build this really nice picture. So projection.
Oh, and I got the King of Pentacles. So it's about getting your house in order to make sure that you have a solid structure, a good foundation, and that you have mastered the creation of that inner and outer temple. And so when we when we launch ourselves into heavy spiritual types of work, we literally lift our feet off the ground, but we go from one physical temple to our spiritual temple. Both need an extreme amount of grounding, you know, to journey to your, I call it the witch's temple, to journey to your spiritual temple, to your spiritual, you know, place out there in the ethers is important, but it takes time and it takes energy to go there consistently and cultivate the surroundings, to cultivate that feeling of being there, of being in that familiar place, in that homely place. And with the King of Pentacles, he is all about the solidity of your resources. And you know, one of those beautiful aspects is to be sure of what you have, be sure of what you know, be sure of what you have, and be sure that you know how to utilize it effectively. And so his prowess is that he holds sway over resources. And when you have that power over resources, resources can be any number of things. It can be knowledge. It can be, you know, knowledge in the form of books or knowledge in the form of the written word. It can be your physicality, you're being physically prepared, can be your being spiritually prepared, but it's about the solidity of what you've got. And in order to stay grounded while you're pursuing your spiritual practice, it is important to really, really understand what grounding means to you. Not what grounding is in a book, not what grounding is to somebody else, but what grounding is to you. How you get grounded, how you stay grounded. What are the tools that you reach for? It's about knowing it really well, having that power and that sway over those particular types of processes, grounding, centering. These are absolute foundational aspects of spiritual work. To be able to effectively ground and center yourself means that you are capable of enduring various different experiences, and it's very, very good and healthy for your life. You know, in a situation of conflict, you want to make sure that you are grounded and centered, that you can reach your guides to ask them to help you in a moment. Grounding and centering is really the foundation of getting up there. And if you can't effectively ground, you can't effectively get up there. Or you get up there and you're all wishy-washy and you're all floaty. It's wishy-washy spirituality. So grounding is your paramount avenue. Lean into the archetype of the King of Pentacles to be able to hone that solidity in the self and the solidity in the process itself, and make sure that you cultivate a really commanding power over those practices that are absolutely essential to really firm spirituality. And what else can I say from a Taurus perspective? You could be a Taurus. If you're able to switch your sun sign, that would be another way of doing it. I'm just kidding. I'm just having a bit of funsies with you. That was my king. And be jolly about it. Be practical about it. Be jolly and practical. Use food if you need to.
Food.
Food's really good for grounding, isn't it?
It's fantastic. It is the best way I know of personally to ground.
Root vegetables. Get some root vegetables in you.
Oh, yeah.
If you're an omnivore, meat. Root vegetables and meat.
It was funny when you were talking about you can't get up there without getting down first. Yeah. So how I learned to meditate in the tribal sense, in the Native American sense. So we have Father Sky and we have Mother Earth. So when we breathe in meditation, we are both growing vines into the earth, but we are also growing our mental vines into the sky. So we can breathe in, we bring all energy in, and when we exhale, we are told to envision of literally a tree growing into the sky, but also, in order to do that in equal measure, our roots have to dig into the earth at the same time. So you can't have one without the other. All I wanted to add.
That's exactly right. And that really aligns well with, shamanistic practices of the three worlds and, underworld journeys, the veil crossing, like it's there, right?
Yes, indeed. Speak it. Oh my goodness. Bringing back demonic practices and the Kabbalah, I might just faint over here.
Okay. Next question. So Millennial Witch says, what is the piece I'm missing in building this relationship with this new deity? I got a card already.
Me too. You go first.
I got the 7 of Wands.
What?
I got the 7 of Wands.
7 of Wands.
You said the 10 of Wands?
7. So this is the Oracle deck wants to be caressed. So this is from Sacred Earth Oracle, and this is Surface. So from this card, I would say that you are not you're not really digging deep into this deity. You are taking the depictions of this deity at face value, which basically means, like, if I can give you an example. So let's say that Poseidon were to come to me, and I take from pop culture how Poseidon has been depicted. So I've watched Percy Jackson, and that's the only things that I focus on is what pop culture tells me to. If you're going to cultivate a relationship with a deity, you need to go much deeper than that. And every deity that you work with, and I think both of you can attest to this as well, the three of us could all why is there feedback? Hold on. Who is that?
Oh, that's my husband messing with tin outside. Hold on,
I'm like, what's the feedback? But anyways, all three of us could have the same deity that we're cultivating a relationship with, and each of those relationships will be different. Avalon won't know that deity the way that I know that deity, and Chase won't know that deity the way that I know that deity. So you need to cultivate your own personal experience and delve really deep into who that deity is to you, what they provide to you, what you're going to give to them in return. And yeah, I'd say just do a lot deeper soul searching and digging where that deity is concerned. It's not just, gosh, this could be an episode in itself when it comes to deities and surface deity versus actual deity relationship, because the video
face value versus profound. Yes, put that down in our topic list. Face value versus profound experience.
Write it down.
Because one of the videos that I did on Kali is actually my most viewed video on YouTube. But people have such a problem with it because it is not typically it's not typical Hindu belief. It's not what pop culture says that she's like. It's not what you hear about. So it's interesting because as much as my experience wasn't those things, it was still my experience, and that video still draws views daily. So it's pretty interesting. Okay, Chase, or Abs?
Me. Stronger. My husband's just outside with some steel and some metal doing the man thing, so just forgive the background noise. But I got the 7 of Wands, and the 7 of Wands is urging you to be defiant about the process, and that you have to blaze your own path. You have to lean into your own power to discover this for yourself. And you've got the skills. You just need to be able to get out there and apply yourself effectively and do what needs to be done. Now, one of the things with the 7 of Wands, when it appears, it can sometimes suggest that you're holding back far too much. You're holding back either through fear, you're holding back because of the great unknown. You're holding back because you might not have all the necessary information that it takes to really build a solid practice and then apply that practice in the form of devotional deity work or spirit work in any regard. But here's the thing. Nobody can teach you about deity. You have to discover it for yourself. It's an odyssey. It's a spiritual journey. Your deity will come to you and he will teach you. She will teach you. They will teach you what it is that they like, what they want, in accordance with your culture and your personal construct. Now, I have said this quite a few times, to spirit work clients of mine, that, you know, deity is not, they're not bound by man, by our concepts. They're not bound by geography. They're not bound by the same things that we ourselves are bound to. We're bound to country. We're bound to language. We're bound to those types of things, right? Deity, that's not what it's about, you know? And so you need to be able to effectively open up your mind and be quite defined about how you want to pursue this. When you invite deity into your life, when you invite that type of spirit into your life, then you need to be prepared to make space for that type of energy to come in. And you need to understand ahead of time what it is that you want from that experience. Do you want to be taught? Do you want a devotional relationship? Do you want a matron or a patron or someone to guide you as you move through your spirituality? So knowing effectively what it is that you want is your first step. Being very certain about that and being prepared to put your foot down. You don't want to be a God slave. That's an actual terminology in spirit work. You can actually be, you know, a God's bitch. You don't want to be that, you know, and that's one thing that, you know, you have choice over. You have the choice to hold a certain amount of power in that relationship. My Orisha have asked of me things that I have not been prepared to deliver. There's friction when that happens, but I need to understand where I begin and where I end, and I'm not at the disposal to be manipulated by a spirit. I have great respect for my Orisha. I have great respect for my for the gods in the goddess wheel that I work with as far as my coven goes, but I don't 100% give all of my power over to that. It is a relationship, a push and a pull. It is not one-sided, and it is not a dictated type of relationship. Yes, they do ask of you, and they will ask of you, and they will probably ask more than you're prepared to give, but you need to be defiant in that and have that tenacity to put your foot down and say, this is what I'm willing to do and this is what I'm not willing to do. So it comes down to being very, very sure of yourself, and then being prepared to put yourself out there in that commanding way and state your business. That's all I got. Just sprinkle my 7 out everywhere. That was my sprinkling. 7.
And on that note, Chase.
All right, so I have drawn the 9 of diamonds. So we're talking about the 9th place in the Sephiroth is Yesod, and that is so the Yesod of Pentacles, which is literally manifestation. So meaning, we're talking about meaning. So a lot of what Allora said. So we're talking about, like, you have to just dig deep, and you have to, I feel like there is like that one thing that you just have not discovered yet, and that takes time. That's not anything that comes immediately, or, you know, when you start getting a message from deity that you need to start working with this deity, or whatever the process was that happened that got you to this point. That kind of meaning and that kind of depth doesn't happen immediately. It doesn't happen in a short term. It doesn't happen with, you know, sitting down and meditating. You can even sit down and all you do is meditate over this deity for the next year. You're probably not going to get that either. You really have to listen. Meditating is more than just being in space with that deity. It's about keeping your ears open, and it's about listening to really what that deity wants from you. Because in the end of all, you know, working with the deity is to better yourself in that way. Like, I keep bringing up me and Maui, but it's the most prevalent example that I have. You know, when I am needing to dig deep, like, I don't come to Maui when I need help with confidence. That's not really what Maui is about. Depicted on Moana maybe a little bit. That may be a little bit false now that I'm thinking about it. Anyway, not the point. Stay with me here. So when I really need to dig deep and I need to figure out those things in my life that Maui controls, like discovery and exploration, and having the gall to do these things and get out of my comfort zone, that's what I go to him for. But I don't just... I literally did not the first time go to Maui and sit down and be like, okay, I want these things, and meditate and be like, yeah, I have them. Let's go explore. Like, that's not how it works. You have to, like, Maui has to know that I am genuinely sitting in this space, and I have taken the time, and I have asked questions. And after I ask questions, again, it's the most important part to listen. It's the biggest message that I am, like, the piece that I think, and the deeper meaning that you're trying to discover here, I think, is you have not sat and listened enough. Listening.
Okay, because I'm going to piggyback off what you just said real quick. I think what you said is important, because this question is, what is the last piece, or what's the missing piece in building a relationship? I don't think there's a missing piece. I just think that you want it now, where cultivating a relationship is over a span of time. And interestingly enough, I got to work with Maui because I was doing something for Chase. And I can tell you from working with Maui, he is very much a deity of, Chase says, discovery and exploration. But when I had my experience with Maui, he's very much like, he leaves you on, he leaves breadcrumbs. And he's like, okay, so we're going to put this, and then next you'll have this and this and this. And so it was very interesting because, again, even though that's what he's known for, he's not just going to be like, let's go discover. He's going to be like, all right, bitch, here you go. Figure it out.
Right. You're not going to be in meditation and you're going to get like this clear picture of Asia and be like, yeah, you're going to go to Asia. He's going to be like, no, you get to go to the library first and you get to like get a feeling about this particular book. But it's not even going to be about Asia. It's going to be about sushi. And then from this book of sushi, then it's going to lead you over here, and you're going to go to the library, and you're going to go eat the sushi. And then after you eat the sushi, like, it's this very, yes, he's a very, he's a smart ass.
But I feel like a lot of deities are like that. I feel like they are very much like a professor. Like, they're not going to hand you the answers per se, but they will guide you to them for yourself. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes, and what he is excellent at is, because in reading that book on sushi, I learned something. Going to eat that sushi, I tasted something. You know, like going from there to wherever he's leading me to next, I heard something. He is just an all senses encompassing. Every one of my senses will learn something before I ever make it on a damn boat or a plane to make it to Asia, where the actual lesson is. Like, I will have, like, he will prepare all of my senses for that, and I love that.
Yeah, but he's also very pushy.
Yo, extremely. Oh my goodness.
So I don't like that.
Oh my goodness, so pushy. And like, there are times when, I think, was it you talking about the Green Man that one day was just like, get naked and run? You're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
I feel like I had that conversation a lot with Matt. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, we're not there yet, bro. Like, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Oh yeah.
That was
yeah, that was when I first started working with Green Man, and like, I had this insatiable urge to pull my car off the road and just run through the woods naked. And I was like, no. I'm on the fucking highway right now. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah. Yep.
I like that.
In a minute. How are we on time? What's going on with that?
It is 10:33 right now.
How do you feel?
I could probably, I'm going to hate to say this, I could probably go till 11 my time. That's 30 more minutes.
How about we break that in the middle, just to be kind to you, and do an extra 15, and that way you get that extra 15 to sort of wind down and have something to eat and then go to bed. Otherwise you're going to be like super processy.
Like, you know me. It's like, you know me with food.
I do, with salsies right here.
Oh yeah. Yes indeed. Yes indeed.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, because I'm the big talker. I'll keep it to like 30 seconds. I'm going to do 30 seconds. Okay. If we think fast, we can get through every question and like be like point on. So.
Okay. So this is like a shotgun tarot right here.
What are we next? Missing. Okay. So we did. We've got Jezebel Von Tex. Where am I going with my art? All right. Two of Cups. Towards a co-creative project with another individual that requires a great deal of emotion to effectively produce. That was the Two of Cups. That's my reading.
God, you did it. Wow, that's amazing. So what I have drawn is the Ace of Hearts. So the Ace of Cups. So we're talking about, again, we're going into this beginnings phase. So we're in the first place of the Sephiroth, talking about emotions. We're talking about feeling. Literally, we were talking about the beginning of feeling. So where are you going with this art? well, you're going emotionally maybe into a place that you're not comfortable with, but that's going to be where your greatest achievements lie.
I like that. And where your partner that you're co-creating with is going to come and fill that void for you, so you don't have to go through that level of discomfort. There you go.
And this is the card that came out for me, the space. So I feel like this is literal. I feel like with your art, you need to create an artistic space in which to create this wonderful art that you will be creating, because it's obvious from the other 2 cards that it's definitely something that's coming to fruition, but you need to create the space in which to make it happen. Next.
If you build it, they will come. Yeah.
Look at
this is the field of dreams, bitches.
That's good. Look at us. We're doing things. Next.
The next question is, should STW start a Patreon?
I wonder how that got in there. But funny enough, these cards flew out of the deck.
My daughter's going to come in and continuously interrupt now.
8 of Wands and Wheel of Fortune.
What was that?
8 of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune. For should STW start a Patreon? Do I need to interpret this for you people?
The Empress.
What do you guys get?
Mine's the Empress. Oh! Yes, because it will be incredibly fruitful. I'm going to go get a snack for my daughter.
Okay.
The Ace of Spades, the Ace of Swords, the beginnings. It all starts with an idea. As long as we have the idea right, it will be successful.
Okay, moving on. I kind of snuck that one in there.
You can see now it's all very clear to everyone where the disconnect about the Patreon is, though. We can see who's on board and who's not.
No, that's not true.
No, I'm on board. It just has to be done in.
Chase will do whatever we tell him to do.
That is so false. That is false.
No, that's true to a
what
point.
erroneous statement
pressure you enough?
No, what happens is because I stay so damn busy, and now they're all over there in Australia being buddy. I have to like go online and read something one day. I'm like, okay, we're doing that.
Do not.
We're doing that now. We are doing that. Oh, it is. Nope, it is. It is.
No, you come over here too. Don't be jelly. Don't be jelly over there. Instead of being jelly over there, come over here and make us jelly. That would be totally awesome.
I am just.
Yeah, because you could get in a death trap and be here in about 17 hours.
No, why would I willingly jump into something called a death trap? I would never do that. Ever.
Well, they're actually called aeroplanes.
No, they're called death traps. That is a pseudonym. It's a false name. That's
okay. Alex. How to get unstuck. The Chariot.
Oh my gosh. I didn't have that. I got the King of Cups.
Ooh. Well, I think my card's quite literal. To get unstuck, you must move. You must do something.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot continue to. Definition of insanity: doing the same thing repeatedly, expecting a different result. You have to do something different.
Yeah.
What do you?
My greatest thing is if you do what you've always done, you'll have what you've always had. So you're stuck now. So you have to break it up, right? King of Cups, immerse yourself in that spiritual aspect that calls to you. When it comes to your practice, there is obviously a very overarching theme of spirituality that you enjoy that genuinely nourishes your spirit. And so this is all about full immersion, reliance on that intuitive faculty and enhancement of that intuitive faculty, prowess over the emotional factor, understand how your senses work, understand how your psychic body responds, and learn to mediate with that psychic body and lean into particular skills that perhaps you haven't touched into yet. So that's it. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Shirley?
Side note. Anna now wants us to start a school of magic and divination. A
school of magic and divination. Yeah, and you can offer your your
artwork
classes through that school. There you go.
Okay, did you have a card for that one, Chase?
Yes, I do. So I have the Jack of Diamonds, and so set this card up. So again, diamonds, pentacles, Jack. We're talking numerology. We're talking about the number 11, which is a warrior. Easily stated, it's a conflict card. So when we're talking about the conflict of resources, we're talking about a competition. So the thing to get unstuck is you need to figure out what the two ideas, why you're stuck, so the two ideas that are combating that don't make sense to you, and you really have to figure out which one is sort of speaking to you more than the other, and that's going to be a way to help get you unstuck.
Okay. Next question. Anna said, read my question. I just read your question. Her question says, I have a question. Should STW start a school of magic and divination? Okay, Lisa Ann. Where are we at? I know Lisa in real life. How can I overcome the block I have regarding my abilities communicating with spirit? Yes, Allora, I'm still stuck. Miss you. Miss you too.
You can't have her back, Lisa. I don't care who you are.
I've already tried.
I've already tried. He did. He did.
I did. Man, I tried.
He did. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
How can you overcome the block? Stamina. 9 of Wands. You know, stamina, perseverance. You know, try and try and try again. And each time you try, do something different in order to get you through that blockage. So stamina and tenacity, like defiance. Go for it. Fire all the way, baby. 15 seconds.
I know, but she's not timing it because she's not competitive at all. The King of Hearts.
I'm timing you.
So the King of Hearts is basically everything that Avalon just said. It's the process. You have to figure out like you just have to figure out, like, get into so many words in my head. I'm trying to
5 seconds.
You shut your mouth.
10
figure
seconds.
out the process. That's it.
Figure out the process. Okay,
That's
and then
the
I
process.
had two jump out. So I have the Fool, and I also have the 3 of Cups, which is abundance. So anyways, so this tells me that you need to approach it with a blank slate, something new and different you've never done. Also, you need to loosen up. She's holding up a clock. But anyways, you need to loosen up, and if you need alcohol to get there, by God, try it. You don't need to get sloppy drunk, but definitely do something to loosen up and not be so stressed.
Drink responsibly.
Boom. Done. 27 seconds. What?
31. Stop it.
Oh, you lied. You fixed that clock.
Wow.
Who's next? We've done Lisa.
Cheerleading would be a competitive professional sport.
Well, you know, you can make a competition out of anything, can't you?
Valid. Says the tourist.
Says the personal trainer. All right, give me 15 more. You can do it. You can do it. Like, tell me.
That's for the betterment of other people.
Push it. Do your best. Get there. Like,
Okay, guys.
That's what your business is all about.
Hello. It's 11. Well, it's 10:45 for you, Chase.
Yeah.
All right. We're done. We're done, folks. We can't get to the rest. We're done. We tried our best to go rapid fire. We got through a couple, but not all. And therefore, we are done. Right. That was a great session.
All right.
For a very long time. So
We talked about some great stuff.
Yeah, we've talked about some great stuff. Some stuff that nobody really wants to talk about because it's considered rude, but we do it because we're professional feather rufflers.
And we're rude.
And we're rude. And
there is an episode of SCW Officially where Chase 2 Ls said the F word more than Avalon Cameron.
I know. I'm becoming far more elegant than I ever had imagined. Let me
tell everybody why. Because your daughter found your YouTube.
Oh, so there's a reason.
It's a thing.
Don't let her fool you. She has not changed.
I have because I have.
She is reforming.
I'm reforming. See, that's the epiphany that I was talking about, Jennifer Ball. It's like something happens that will just shunt you into a state of mind. That was my shunting me into a state of mind. There you go. Perfect example of what I was talking about.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up right here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Slingin' ain't easy. And from the topics that we covered, it is definitely apparent that there are some controversial topics within the tarot community. As a course, we're going to cover them. We talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about deck collecting versus being a professional
being a collector doesn't make you a professional reader. True.
And how to take the money.
And how to take the money or not take the money. And how much money to take and when not to take the money. And so we talked about that stuff. And we slung some cards. We had a blast. We brought you news. And I'm going to wrap it up right here, let my soul siblings say goodbye, and then we are out of here. Chase?
You know, as always, I just pour love out to you guys all of the time. I love you endlessly. We love you endlessly. I love your energy. I love your support. I said all this in the beginning, but I'm saying it all again. The fact that we can take the hiatus that we took and come back and still have, I mean, how many did we have in here at one time? I mean, we had so many of you guys in here supporting us and watching, and like it's incredible. So to have that kind of love and support, it just means the world to me, and I know it means the world to us. I can speak for all three of us when I say that we just love you endlessly, and we love the love that is mutual. And thank you for all your support, and thank you for sitting through all of our episodes with us acting like crazy people. And I love you guys so much. I'm sending all my loving energy your way, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Please stay tuned for good things coming from us, and I will pass it on.
Beautiful. And yes, once again, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute blast. We, of course, could have gone on for much longer because we haven't met for quite some time, and we could have just really launched into every subject that we had previously contemplated prior to our live cast. But we do have a hell of a lot of good content for you. We would like to pick up our rhythm once again. Our website is up, so check it out. Our Facebook page is up, so check that out. All links to most of the things discussed in this video, particularly in the news portion, will be in the description box below. We are here to entertain. And we appreciate you endlessly, of course. So thank you to everybody who supports Spread the Switches and who takes the time out of their day to sit with us and ask us questions and participate in the conversation. There's some incredible community members out there that are always giving so much love, so much support, and we would like to give that love and support way back to you guys. And so if there's any requests for topics that you would like for us to discuss, if there's something really big that you believe should be talked about, maybe like the nice washing of tarot, which was a thing that's been coming up of late, we can talk about that at one point as well. So, you know, send us your topic ideas, and if they're really, really good, we might be able to roll them into an episode and make something really tasty out of it for you. With all that said and done, much love, many blessings. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yay!
And if you like this video, want to see more of us, want to share it around, please feel free to do so. Share it on your Facebook page, on your profile, in groups, on Instagram, wherever. And you can give us a like down below. All the links of the stuff that we talked about are in the description box. Thanks to AV. Well, at least I know her stuff is. My stuff isn't yet, but it will be. Thank you for all 7 of them. Thank you for joining us. And we all have individual YouTube channels and Facebooks. So if you just search all of our names, there you will find us. Avalon Cameron, Allora Rain, and Chase 2 Owls.
Step on Facebook because Facebook hates my So that's another topic for another day.
Yeah, he's on Insta though, folks. Follow him.
Yeah, but he's on Insta. Yeah, we're all over social media. So check us out. Look us up. Much love. See you next time.